Given some text, we may want to organize it in a way that we can extract some information from it. Text mining techniques allow us to do this. Text mining is the process of extracting valuable insights from unstructured text data using NLP techniques. It transforms raw text into structured information, enabling businesses to uncover trends, patterns, and knowledge hidden within massive amounts of textual data. That is a quote from Gemini in 2024. In text mining, we aim to extract information from unstructured data. In addition to natural language processing techniques, as we've covered a lot in this series, in text mining we may also employ techniques from machine learning and data mining. Input data for analysis can come in many forms. Unstructured data, semi-structured data, and structured data. In unstructured data, this is text that is created for human consumption. It includes natural language texts like books, articles, or other documents, as well as audio and video files. When we talk about semi-structured data, this would be text that has some organizational structure. For example, a resume or an email may have some structure associated with it. An email is going to have a header, a signature, and a body, but it's not necessarily consistently structured in a format that makes it readily available to computational analysis tasks. When we think about structured data, this is data that is presented in a consistent format like a spreadsheet or a table. These are easier for computers to analyze. Structured data would be something like a CSV file or a spreadsheet or a database. That data can be analyzed using data mining techniques. When we have unstructured data like texts, unstructured text like we would see in books or articles, then we need to apply some text mining techniques. And with semi-structured data that's somewhere in between, we probably need a combination of text mining techniques and data mining techniques. And of course, after we have performed some analysis on our unstructured data to put it in a format that is more structured, we can then apply further techniques for data mining on that newly structured data. So text analysis addresses organizing the unstructured or semi-structured data to prepare it for computer analysis. This is closely linked with text mining, which extracts information by finding patterns in the data. Natural language processing techniques that collectively aim to uncover, structure, and represent the underlying meaning and relationship within textual data include, of course, the natural language processing core algorithms. NLP is a crucial component of text mining, and it deals with understanding and processing human language. This includes text pre-processing tasks, like we've talked about before in this series, things like parsing, tokenization, stemming, lemmatization, and also feature extraction tasks, like finding word embeddings or bag of words or part of speech tagging. NLP techniques like this prepare the text data for further analysis, enabling the extraction of meaningful information. Other techniques include association rule mining, or ARM, which discovers interesting associations and relationships between words or items within textual data. And these can be used to identify co-occurring terms, frequent patterns, or potential correlations within the data. Topic tracking algorithms identify and monitor the emergence, evolution, and decline of topics within a stream of text over a period of time. This is useful for understanding things like trends and shifts in public opinion, news cycles, or areas of research of interest. Concept linkage aims to identify and connect related concepts within text data by analyzing semantic relationships and co-occurrences. This helps build knowledge graphs and understand the connections between different ideas that are present in the unstructured text. Information extraction focuses on extracting specific information and some structured data from the unstructured text. This would include tasks we've talked about, like named entity recognition, extracting relationships between those entities, and doing event detection. Information retrieval deals with searching and retrieving relevant information from large text collections based on user queries. So this involves techniques like indexing, ranking, and getting relevance feedback on the text. So information retrieval is going to be conducted when a user enters a query and that query results in the presentation of text that is relevant to the query. Information retrieval is performed to find that relevant text. Information visualization techniques represent text data and insights visually through charts, graphs, and interactive dashboards. This is to help users understand the complex information and discover hidden patterns more easily. Information visualization is then for the human user to better view and visualize information within the processed unstructured data. Summarization is exactly what it sounds like. Text summarization algorithms automatically generate concise summaries of longer text documents while preserving the key information and the main points. Again, making it easier for humans to review a lot more documents at a higher level and get an abstract of what that document represents. PageRank algorithms are used by search engines to measure the importance of web pages, and these are sometimes based on the number and quality of links pointing to them, although common search engines have proprietary algorithms that they use in order to determine which pages to display in information retrieval. The text rank algorithm is a graph-based ranking algorithm that is used to identify the most important sentences or keywords within a text document based on their connections and co-occurrences. In addition to these algorithms, we may apply machine learning techniques and some techniques in text mining that use machine learning algorithms include classification and clustering. If you visit scikit-learn, you can learn more about classification, clustering, and other machine learning techniques. We'll go there now. Scikit-learn is the machine learning library for Python. In scikit-learn, you will see classification techniques, regression techniques, clustering techniques, techniques for dimension reduction, model selection, and pre-processing data. And to just view a couple examples of how we might utilize machine learning for our task, classification algorithms can assign text documents or textual data points to predefined categories based on their features and previously labeled training data. This can be used for tasks like sentiment analysis, spam detection, topic categorization, using example techniques like decision trees, A decision tree contains nodes and edges, or leaves and branches, where the outcome of a question is asked at each node, and that determines the edge to follow through the decision tree. Sequential decision trees ask questions one at a time, following a specific path, to ultimately reach a classification. In contrast, you may have parallel decision trees which consider multiple features simultaneously, potentially reaching a classification faster, but also potentially sacrificing some accuracy. And decision trees can be used in this fashion to perform the tasks we mentioned, like sentiment analysis. So asking, is this post a happy post or a sad post? What is the sentiment of the user? And we can ask a series of questions and apply a pre-trained decision tree to this problem to classify the sentiment into one of many set categories. We can also apply artificial neural networks, so our deep learning techniques, to the classification problem and train a neural network to learn how to label data based on input training data. So we train the neural network to be able to classify a set of pre-labeled data, and then when new data is presented to the neural network, it can predict what classification that new data falls in. So if we go back to our sentiment analysis example, if we had a neural network that was trained on a corpus of text where the text was pre-labeled with the sentiment, that neural network can be trained to then predict the sentiment of new text that it is fed. We can also use clustering techniques for information extraction and text mining. Unsupervised clustering algorithms can be used to group similar text documents or other data points, for example, named entities. If we have named entities that we've extracted from our text, we may want to cluster those into similar groups. This does not require pre-labeled data, hence we call it unsupervised, whereas using labeled data resulted in supervised learning, like the classification algorithms we looked at. In unsupervised clustering, we just want to identify hidden patterns and structures within the data. So we do not present the model with any training data that is already labeled. We simply present the model with the data that we want to find hidden patterns and structures within, and the model then performs clustering using a clustering algorithm to define those clusters of similar data points. In k-means algorithm, for example, data is partitioned into k predefined clusters by minimizing the distance between each point and its assigned cluster center. In hierarchical agglomerative clustering, HAC, another algorithm for unsupervised clustering, builds a hierarchy of clusters by successively merging or splitting clusters based on their similarity. These are just examples of the types of clustering and classification algorithms that we can apply to text mining to give us some further information about the text that we want to look at. I have combined some of these techniques together in an example application that I've linked to here in a Colab notebook. And this example application does article clustering. So we'll go to that notebook, which is publicly available. If you have not used Colab before, I encourage you to become comfortable with it. Colab allows us to run a lot of machine learning and deep learning methods within a notebook. In this example, I've created a simple natural language processing experiment. In this experiment, we will use k-means clustering to group similar news articles based on their content. To set up the experiment, we'll look at the experiment design. We want to collect a data set of news articles from different categories. We will then pre-process the text data by doing tokenization, removing stop words, etc. We will convert the text to numerical vectors that can be fed into a machine learning algorithm. And then we will apply k-means clustering to group the similar articles and evaluate those clusters to see if they do in fact correspond to the original categories. You can run this directly in the Colab notebook by clicking the Run Cell button. I have pre-executed it so we don't have to wait for it to run. And we start with some imports, and here we're using sklearn. So sklearn is the scikit-learn Python library that we looked at a moment ago. And from sklearn, we're going to import a feature extractor to do vectorization. We're going to import k-means clustering algorithm, and we're going to use scikit-learn datasets. The scikit-learn library has a lot of pre-processed datasets that are available to perform different types of machine learning on. And here we will collect a dataset from scikit-learn called fetch 20 news groups. In step 1, we'll load the dataset. Now here, instead of taking the entire dataset, I have narrowed it down to 3 categories within that 20 categories of news groups. I chose space, graphics, and baseball as the 3 categories I wanted to pull news articles for from this set. And I can fetch the data using a subset that is meant for training algorithms. So I have subset equals train, and then of course my categories equal the categories that I specified to further filter the data to those categories only. In the next couple of steps, I do some pre-processing and vectorizing, and I can do this at once because I've pulled a vectorizer from the feature extraction module in scikit-learn. And this will remove the stop words, and here I've identified the stop word dictionary I want to use as the English dictionary. These are English written articles. And I will simply use the library vectorizer to pre-process and vectorize the data for me so that it is available to the machine learning algorithm I want to use. And when I call fit transform on the vectorizer, it completes that process, and I will store it in the variable uppercase X, which we commonly use. It's a common convention to use for our input data vectors. And then I will apply k-means clustering. I will define the number of clusters as the length of my categories. So I had 3 categories: space, graphics, and baseball. So my number of clusters is going to be 3. And I will set up the k-means scikit-learn algorithm using the k-means class with the number of clusters equal to my num clusters, which is 3, and some arbitrary random state, which I'll set to 42. When I call fit on this k-means clustering algorithm and send it as an argument my vectorized input data, that is going to run the clustering algorithm and cluster my articles. To evaluate the clusters, I am going to import again from scikit-learn, I'm going to import a confusion matrix. A confusion matrix allows us to quickly see how well the predictions on new data were actually made given the trained k-means model that I've created. So given my trained clustering model, I can use a confusion matrix directly to see how well it actually clusters. And so in the confusion matrix, I'm going to send the news groups target and my k-means labels. And here I'm just printing the confusion matrix to see what it looks like. And optionally, I put here a way to just quickly print the top terms in each of the clusters so we can see what those clusters of articles look like in terms of the top terms that are present within those groups of articles. And this next little code snippet just prints those top terms per cluster. And if I look at the output, I can see my confusion matrix, which is a list of 3 lists of size of length 3. And my clusters, the top terms per cluster. So my algorithm gave me 3 clusters. The first one had the terms edu, graphics, com, lines. The next one edu, year, baseball team. The next one space, NASA, Henry, and so on. So you can tell by looking at the words that we had some success in clustering if these are the top terms in those articles. But I want to look at this a little bit closer. So I created another cell to actually visualize these results. So instead of talking about the confusion matrix and the top terms in the clusters like we have in the text output, we can do a visualization and look at the results that way. I chose to visualize these results using matplotlib, which is a common visualization library in this Python sequence of machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing libraries. I use Seaborn to create my confusion matrix, and word cloud because I want to create some word clouds because I think it's a nice way to visualize the top terms in the clusters. So first I plot a confusion matrix, plot the confusion matrix using a heat map from Seaborn. And this code snippet uses matplotlib along with heat map to plot a confusion matrix. And the next code snippet uses word cloud along with matplotlib to create a word cloud for each of the clusters. We'll look at the output of that. So you can run this directly again by running the cell after, of course, you've ran the top cell. And we see the confusion matrix here. So when you look at a confusion matrix, you're looking at the true label of the article on one axis and the predicted label on the other axis. And what we want to see is that the predicted label matches our true label, the actual label. And typically you will see down the diagonal of the confusion matrix in a successful trained model, you should see that the majority of your predictions fall along the diagonal, meaning that if the true label was 0, we expect the predicted label to be 0, and we can see here that 576 of the articles were labeled, the predicted label was accurate, accurately predicted the true label of the 3 classes that we, or the 3 clusters that we created from the 3 different types of news articles. But then we also see that a smaller set of them were labeled incorrectly. So the predicted label 0 when the true label was 1 and when the true label was 2 did happen sometimes. And same is true for the predicted label of 1. This one did a little bit better. When the true label was 1, 546 articles were accurately predicted. And when the predicted label is 2 and the true label is 2, we see the majority of the articles again, 396, accurately predicted. So for the most part, this is a decent confusion matrix. We see some outliers here where we have some incorrect predictions and a little bit more over here, and the most incorrect predicted were articles from the second category that were incorrectly predicted as belonging to the 0th category, the first category. So when we look at a confusion matrix this way, it just allows us to very easily look down the diagonal, and this is a heat map, so it's showing the number based on the color here. You see the color range on the right. And we should expect to see darker colors down the diagonal, and we do. And then we see one section over here where we're seeing too many mispredictions, and so we might want to modify our clustering algorithm or try a different clustering algorithm to see if we can achieve better results. The second thing I plotted was the word clouds for the different clusters. So here at this point, I have not printed out what each of these clusters are, but given that we know we started with space, graphics, and baseball, if we look at the top words using our word clouds for each of these categories, I think we can determine whether that category was under space, graphics, or baseball. And the word cloud for cluster 0 has words like image and file and line and point. So this clearly points graphics you see in here. So this is pointing to word cloud 0. We can see that this is going to be our graphics category. The word cloud for cluster 1 has terms like team, year, article, baseball, game, player, fan, run. So clearly this is our baseball category of articles. And then the final word cloud we expect to be space, and in fact it does appear to be just that, with space being one of the main terms, NASA, Gov, and so on. Other terms that you might find relevant in articles about space, like orbit. This presents you with one simple natural language processing experiment that's combining some natural language processing tasks along with some machine learning tasks to perform some text mining and demonstrate some of the techniques that we've covered in this lecture. I hope you enjoyed it, and this website and code is available for you to revisit anytime.